That was Small World from Gypsy, only a part of it. But funny, you're a girl who likes whale. That's an important sign. Funny, I have 2 tons of whale meat. Small. That was the button Travis first. Let's see, now I should put this down here, right? Okay. And so put that closer. Okay, I'm just, oh, it's getting dark in here. Are we ready? Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing, is that, oh, that's okay. Okay. You know what, I'm going to move this back just a touch. Well, there it is. I got it. Okay. Okay. Welcome, hot people. And it begins. When we're young and lives entwine, grows there a fresh and simple vine. I merely take your hand in mine, and here's the future. As the earth below us weaves its roots and branches, vines with leaves, so tendrils climb, made of time, of our measured, oh so treasured time. Once the tenderest of shoots, the sweetest, slenderest of shoots, is now a mass of tangled roots wound round the future. Parents we tend, kids given birth, now giving birth in turn. Just look at me, I used to be so fancy free, so much to learn. When we're young, free from so little past, next year looks larger than life. Then like the roots, the branch, the vine, our worlds entwine, cling and combine, and there's our life. Now where's that fresh and simple vine? The old family, now watch you gonna do about the old family? It's crazy, man. There's chickens in the closet. There's life all in the air. They're all there, but they ain't all there. You dig it? So what you gonna do? Sue? The old family, there's trouble in the air around the old family. So dig it, man, I'm up, she down. So I give her part of my crown. It's cool, one jewel. They say the only way to keep it is to give it away. Yeah. When I was 18 years old, in 1967, I made an album for Reprise Records called Portrait of the Young Artist. And as a promotional plug, I performed on a local LA TV talk show called The Woody Woodbury Show. And the other guests on the couch, to my left in a tuxedo, and very sophisticated, very erudite, very portly, the actor Victor Bono, who was going to do a poetry reading on the show that day. And then to my right, in a blue gingham pinafore and a straw hat with the price tags still a-dangling, straight from the Grand Ole Opry, was the inimitable Minnie Pearl. Howdy! And when worlds collide. And Minnie said to me during the break, could I give you some advice? And I said, certainly. And she said, always stay close to your family. This is a crazy business, and you'll always have an anchor if you stay close to your family. And that is what this evening is about. The old family, that friction from the folks around the old family, those years of fears, now who cares? Those years wear out as the years wear on, and suddenly we're men and women, and we can smile again around the old family, the old family. Now what you gonna do about the old family? It's crazy, man. There's chickens in the closet. There's life all in the air. They're all there, but they ain't all there. You dig it? So what you gonna do? But come through. The phone rang, and it was an old friend who said, what are you doing? So I told him the truth. I said, I'm sipping apricot nectar, I'm eating artichoke hearts, I'm reading Japanese haiku, listening to Elizabethan lute music, and wondering why no one understands me. Now there's an old saying, the apple never falls far from the tree. My dad was a hoofer, a tap dancer, a singer, an actor, an entertainer. This was his theme song, Ballin' the Jack. He had been on Broadway, the movies, on TV. He used to choreograph the Jack Benny show from time to time, the Red Skelton show. In fact, my father got me my first gig at the age of 5 on the Jimmy Durante show. where in a skit about old New York, I, in my knickers and beanie, to the tune of East Side, West Side, was to steal an apple from a policeman who had himself copped it from a, as it were, from a fruit stand. And I'm to take that apple and give it to an organ grinder's monkey. Well, at the first rehearsal, the organ grinder's monkey leaps onto my head, dislodges the beanie, and while screaming at the top of his lungs, started pulling my hair. It felt like I had none left. These are moments one doesn't forget. And then another funny little moment that I remember from 1957, my dad came home from work in his green MG. He had two. He had a red MG and a green one. And he came home in the green MG that day. And I asked him what he had done that day. And he said, it was a Western. I did a scene in a Western, a fist fight. Western called The Left-Handed Gun. And for some reason, out of all the days, and I'd asked him what he'd done, this stuck in my head. The Left-Handed Gun. Well, years later, when I saw The Left-Handed Gun, I see that it is Arthur Penn's directorial debut. Arthur Penn's of Bonnie and Clyde fame. Paul Newman played Billy the Kid. This was his second movie, played Billy the Kid, and it's from a play by Gore Vidal. And actually, Newman, he was the second choice. It was supposed to have been James Dean's next movie after Giant, but we know what happened there. So I can now rent this movie and watch Paul Newman punch my dad in the chops. And then during the summer, my dad would often take the family on the road with him while he performed in what's called summer stock, which is musicals performed during the summer months, right? Performed cheerily during the sunny summer months. And I used to go to all the rehearsals and watch him learn these shows. He spent a lot of time in rehearsal halls absorbing it. He did The Wizard of Oz, played the Scarecrow. Dad played the Wizard of Oz and played the Scarecrow in the Wizard of Oz. He did Anything Goes. Oklahoma, played Will Parker in Oklahoma. I Save My Money, Don't Gamble or Drink in the Back Room Down at Flanders. What is it? I can't remember. I used to know these things. Well, that's the thing. I used to know these shows inside and out. By the age of 11, I could recite them obnoxiously. My fear is that you can imagine this all too well. But as we learned last week, I was taken under the sway of folk music by what's been called the Great Folk Scare, as it swept our country in the late 50s. And looking back at these shows through the prism of folk music that I've been exposed to, I realized that in one of these things, there is a great folk poem, a really wonderful piece of folk literature, although it's never approached as such. Well, tonight, would you say the fringe was made of silk? Oh, I wouldn't have no other kind but silk. Well, has it really got a team of snow white horses? Well, one's like snow, the other's more like milk. take you out in the Surrey, when I take you out in the Surrey with the fringe on top. Watch that fringe and see how it flutters when I drive them high-stepping strutters, nosy popes who peek through their shutters, and their eyes will pop. The wind will whistle as we rattle along, the cows will moo in the clover, the river will ripple out a whispered song, and whisper it over and over. Two bright side lights winking and blinking, ain't no finer rig I'm a-thinking. You can keep your rig if you're thinking that I'd care to swap for that shiny little Surrey with the fringe on the top. Feel the day getting older, feel a sleepy head near my shoulder, nodding, drooping close to my shoulder, till it falls kerplop. The sun is swimming on the rim of a hill, the moon is taking the header. And just when I'm thinking, oh, the earth is still, a lark will wake up in the meadow. Hush, you bird, my baby's a-sleeping, maybe got a dream worth a keeping. Whoa, you team, and just keep a-creeping at a slow clip, clop. Don't you hurry with the Surrey, with the fringe on the top.
Oklahoma, Richard Rodgers and Oscar Hammerstein. Entertainment. This was my dad's watchword. His motto, his hue and cry, entertainment, Mark. This was showbiz, right? And this was the milieu in which I was brought up. I mean, you're looking at a third generation vaudevillian. Entertainment for entertainment's sake. And he and his colleagues, my dad and his colleagues, both men and women, had perfected this. I mean, they were superb craftsmen. But, ... from out of these coffee houses, these folk music clubs dotting the country, there emerged a new kind of folk music with a new artistic credo. Does he have anything to say? Right? This was my generation's artistic credential. What does he or she have to say? So-and-so is playing tonight. You want to go? Well, does he have anything to say? No, I mean, this is what we wanted to hear on the stage. And it was my insistence, and I mean, insistence, you know how teenagers can be. There's a bumper sticker that says, hire teenagers while they still know everything. Right? So, you know, what does he or she have to say? And this used to cause the most excruciating battles, arguments. We'll call them discussion for the sake of argument. At the Turnbull dinner table. an entertainment mark. More jokes. Jokes, Dad, the times they are a-changin', man. I mean, does Fred Astaire have anything to say? There is a battle for freedom. It's here. It's clear. Some cheer, some fear. And there's a flag full of questions we are forced to face in this great battle for freedom. History's battle for freedom. If my enemy says he hates me, and I can't say to him I love you, am I free? Am I free? If my enemy wants to destroy me, and I can't in my heart forgive him, am I free? Am I able to feel at home no matter where? Do my expectations limit my every prayer? If a colleague at work insults me, and I can't in my mind overlook it, am I free? I'm not free. If my neighbors are living a lifestyle and I'm deeply, deeply offended, are they free? Does the pressure from peers put me in a fizz? Do thoughts of tomorrow wake me till it is? If I'm thinking in terms of how life used to be, longingly, am I free? If reactions jerk my knee, am I free? And make my words much less than me. Now take impatience, yes please do. It's like some bars I'm peeking through. See, am I free? If I can't do a stranger a kindness because I'm really, really, really self-conscious, what's with me? Will I ever break through if my intellect won't stop? I try to keep still and my brain keeps talking shop. If I'm stuck in the muck of agree or disagree, can it be I'm not? There is a battle for freedom. It's here, it's clear, and we're the spear. We are the weapons, the battlefield, the foe, the spoils, civilians, the generals, the dogs, the royals. We are the battle for freedom, asking the questions of freedom. Dad, pass the butter. Now this may shed some light on the situation. Art and entertainment and tennis were all that was really talked about at our dinner table. Never politics. Very, very rarely politics. Even when Glenda came down from Berkeley for vacations, my sister Glenda was, this is perhaps emblematic of all the paradigm shifts going on. She was attending UC Berkeley during this turbulent time. But even then, very rarely were politics discussed around the household. In fact, so rarely that for 40 years, my mother thought my father was a Republican. which he wasn't. He was a Democrat. He had voted for Eisenhower, who was a Republican once, right, in 1952. Probably a gratitude, a thank you vote for having brought him back safely home from the war. But other than that, a straight Democratic ticket. See, but none of us knew this. Now, the reason why this matter remained so mysterious in our household was, I think, this. When my dad got back from the war, he'd been over in what's called the Special Services, entertaining the troops all over the world in a lot of really harrowing places. When he and his unit came back, they went straight to Broadway in a show, two shows, Hey Rookie and Call Me Mister. And the people that he was working with at this time and in this place, Zero Mostel, Betty Garrett and her husband Larry Parks, and Jules Munchin, Jay Gorney, the composer of Brother Can You Spare a Dime, they were all lefties, right? Vocally so. And they would try and get my dad to go, after the show was over, to try to get him to go to cell meetings, right? Which my dad, although I think somewhat sympathetic, really had no desire to do. He was not compelled to do this. But his cohorts, who did, come McCarthy time, 1948, 49, 50, they were all dragged up before the House Un-American Activities Committee and blacklisted. They didn't work for decades, but not my dad. See, my dad learned to play his cards very close to his vest. So much so that for 4 decades, my mother thought he was a Republican when he was a Democrat. So, that's it. Now Glenda, as I say, was going to Berkeley. The Athens of the West. And it was quite a flashpoint, an extraordinary flashpoint, Berkeley in the 60s. She used to mail me down those posters for the Fillmore Auditorium, right? The kind you had to take acid to read. And she was studying linguistics. The etymology of words, languages. So there she was speaking 7 or 8 different languages and taking part appropriately in the Berkeley's famous free speech movement. Handing out leaflets for the firebrand Mario Savio. And it always seemed to me that she could speak these languages fluently, but she told me recently that she did have some trouble with Sanskrit. Who doesn't? The things that pass us by every day, we miss or dismiss along the way. An opposing opinion that would have rendered mine complete. A blossom near a doorstep off the street. A word divine, enchanted, which all unthinkingly I take for granted. Phrases, words we say, sneak past the radar, subtle as the breath we breathe. Some are simple, some distinctly grand, but few words speak more love than lovely, and some tongues keep the either or on hand. I prefer the more inclusive and. Verbs, nouns, adverbs, adjectives too, pronouns especially need and to come true. Certain words exclude while some expand. Unafraid, I'll trade your or for and. Halls of Congress, clipped words take a stand. Oh, come on, sink your clauses into and. Sunday steeples ring from land to land. Brothers and sisters, they're all built on one big and links planets, links hers and his. Only one word says more. Can you guess what that is? Is begins from is, the flame is fanned, and is suffused with love. Love is and. Take my hand. That's better.
Yes.
In vaudeville, in probably 1927, in a show called Hell's a Poppin', my mother was chased nightly around the stage by Olsen and Johnson wearing gorilla suits. Does one ever recover from something like that? I mean, I told you the traumatic effects of having the organ grinder's monkey leap on my head. I can only imagine what two gorillas might have planted in my mother's subconscious. But that is vaudeville. That was vaudeville. It died. And so then, thanks to my grandmother, it was on to radio and the movies. And there, in what was called the studio system, my mother used to hang out with Jackie Cooper and Judy Garland. And she told me about one night they were all sitting in Judy's bungalow, and Judy went to the piano and said, "Listen to this beautiful song they just wrote for me." And she proceeded to play and sing Somewhere Over the Rainbow. That was the first time my mother had heard it. And Judy used Jackie Cooper as a beard. You see, Jackie and Judy used to leave the studio, and the paparazzi, or whatever they were called at that time, would, click the pictures. There goes Jackie Cooper and Judy Garland. But they were both the juveniles, so all was well. Well, when the coast was clear, Judy would run off into the night with the much older and wildly popular clarinet player Artie Shaw. You see. And when Artie married Lana Turner, oh, Judy was devastated. Oh, God, it's a mess. That's a different story. And my mom had this autograph book from, I think, 1930 to 1932, so when she was 6 to 8, with lots of different people that she worked with. And it's pretty astounding. Norma Shearer and William Powell, Jeanette MacDonald, Laurel and Hardy, Jean Harlow, all these two Bettys. Funny. But when she turned 18, the child star married the tap dancer. And that was the end of her showbiz career, which I think was fine with her. I mean, I never got the feeling that she liked it very much at all. She liked the people, but I don't think she dug the... there was a lot of it that she didn't like. But she had art in her blood, so that is what she turned to, as we've seen this evening on these walls. And then when we moved down here, we were living in the San Fernando Valley, but we decided to move down here, and my mom was mentored art-wise by my art collecting godfather, Sterling Holloway, who had himself moved from Encino down to Laguna. So it was, the move was kind of all in the family. And she came down here and became one of the founders of the Newport Harbor Art Museum, becoming its curator of collections and exhibitions. She met and befriended all these great artists. I mean, they loved her. And she was a visionary, my mother. What does love say? Yes, the heat's on, and the pressure is mounting within, and the cock crows, and the dogs bark, and the shouts up on Wall Street begin, and the news flash, and the guns flash, as the earth and the spin doctors spin, preachers say pray. What does love say? After the others chime in. So, here's the thing. From out of this world of my father's, of rehearsal halls and footlights and songs, dances, and snappy patter, I fall in love with this world of my mother's, the painters. What does love say? After teardrops lay a wreath on our own grassy knoll, and the towns glide past the window as the trains and the corporate heads roll, and they speed in its exhaustion, overlapped like a rail-rattled cup. Hope says payday. What does love say? After the others speak up. The painters, these abstract expressionists in their sweatshirts and their jeans and their paint-splattered work boots, standing for hours in front of their easels, listening to jazz and trying to capture what Kerouac called the autobiography of the soul. These are my people. What does love say? Past the headlines, at the cave where the refugees hid, and the past laughs at the present when your children behave just like you did, and the gas pumps whirling numbers like some runaway video game that the kids play. What does love say? After what others proclaim. But you see, the autobiography of the soul was of little interest to the choreographer of the Jack Benny show, who had a dance to come up with that week for however many thousands of average Americans peering from their sofas across their TV trays into the screens of what by this time had been dubbed the vast wasteland. What does love say when the bombs drop and the votes just aren't counted too well, and the language we grew up with now has words that you can't even spell, and the twilight's distant shimmer has a pace like a clogged bathtub's rings. Friends cry doomsday, what does love say? After the skyscraper sings, entertainment, Mark, entertainment, more jokes. What does love say? Now it's midnight, and the shadows that dogged us all day have all melted back to blackness, though the moon might have something to say. And the dog barks and the cock crows as new shadows rise with the sun. Say what you may, what does love say after the world has begun? Okay, Dad. How's this? Two elderly women haven't seen each other in a long, long time. They run into one another in the park. The first one says, "What did you do to your hair? It looks like a wig." And the second one says, "Well, it is a wig." And the first one says, "Well, you'd never know." My grandmother, Harriet, my mom's mom, because of being born without a left hip socket and with a paralyzed left leg, was told at the age of 12 that she would, quote, never be able to stand alone, much less walk, unquote. Well, my grandmother gave up on doctors then and there, and by the age of 17, she had become a professional dancer. Stubborn? Yes, but no. She, even at that age, had a thing for Scripture, applied Scripture. It's not I, it's the Father in heaven who doeth the work. As she used to say to me, God can only do for you what he can do through you. So she became a minister, and she's a science of mind. She studied with Ernest Holmes, the founder. And she was a healer. She didn't just heal herself. And a preacher, a good preacher, but she got out of that end of it eventually. She found the 60s a very encouraging age, because as she put it to me, so many young people are leaving the church and going back to God. And she had these great bookshelves. And I used to stand in front of them as a little kid and just absorb the energy. You could feel it. It was palpable. And she would walk by and drop little bits of wisdom on me. You know, the aforementioned, God can only do for you what he can do through you. Or her favorite Walt Whitman quote, henceforth, I no longer ask good fortune. I myself am good fortune. She loved that one. And when she remarried, there had been a divorce. She was the first person in our long lineage to actually get a divorce. So I guess I'm following in her footsteps. She married a wonderful guy, a very jovial fellow named Don Up. And Don was the head cashier, the paymaster at Paramount Pictures. So for 40 years, he gave Clark Gable and Marlon Brando their weekly checks. Don Up, UPP. So when she married Don, my grandmother became Harriet Up. Now that's a name for a preacher. Conversely, on the other side of the family tree, my dad's mom, Maggie was a trash-talking, booze-swilling jazz hound who would not have been caught dead in a church. Well, she was, but that was the only time. And I used to sit on her knee, as the old saying goes, I with my bottle, she with hers. And she would teach me little songs, little folk songs, and nonsense songs, and jokes. She would teach me jokes. What are the three main parts of a stove? Lifter, leg, and poker. Yeah, she told me this. And we would look at the inside sleeves of record albums. You know, on the inside sleeve was the paper thing that the vinyl record actually stayed in, and on the paper sleeve would be photographs, little pictures of all the other albums that were on that label. And we would look at these many pictures, and she would say, "Who's that?" And I'd say, "Buddy Rich." She'd say, "Very good, very good." And who's that? Dizzy Gillespie. Very good. That's very good. So, now, what happens when these two powerful, albeit polar opposite personalities combine into a single grandchild? Well, you get this. Some folks read the books on meditation. Some step out and jog to let off steam. Some believe in higher education. Others dream, but all of us will face a situation where damn good taste and tact, dignity demands we act. Don't just sit there and do something, a new something unique. Take action, turn the other cheek. One cheek's a target, the other's a mirror. The echo from the target envelops the hearer. It's perfect. Turn the other cheek. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. But love conquers all. So be it slapped or kissed, we'd be a fool to resist. Remember the reed that bends, confronting the hurricane winds. It's wisdom, let the silence speak. Comes the peace you seek, turn the other cheek. Don't just sit there, do something brand new and yet antique. It's timeless, turn the other cheek. When the theft of a garment's demanded by a brother, release him the garment, then hand him another. It's judo, turn the other cheek. I'm am faced with a fool, I'm under attack. But who is the fool when I hit back? So I try not to take things personally. My cursing only proves me weak. The strong ones let the silence speak. Show that grand physique. Turn the other cheek. Turn the other cheek. The other cheek. There's many a face and name, but each slap is the same. Jumping and bouncing 12 foot high, like her companion, butterfly. All around the meadow, twice again, Daddy, I will now try to explain. But when she sleeps, she's so quiet. When she sleeps, peace is nigh. When she sleeps, she's the daughter of the moon passing by. Not a sign, not a signal. What's at stake, what's in store? When she's no longer sleeping and awake once more. Questions tomorrow, all will say, Dad, but I did that yesterday. Cars, guitars, bike, judo, camera, skateboard, ball and bat, knife, army, Swiss. Let's do this, let's do that, let's do this. But when he sleeps, he's so patient. When he sleeps, peace descends. Fast asleep, he's a gallop where the range never ends. Or full sailed on an ocean bound to set him ashore. When the morning says boo, and he's awake once more. Beggars and landlords, dads and moms, builders of bridges, churches, moms. Some simply singing, some court death to the past, to their last dying breath. But when we sleep, we're like angels. When we sleep, peace be still, no more racing or chasing to the top of the hill. Not a sign, not a signal. What's at stake, what's in store? When we're no longer sleeping, but awake once more. No more racing or chasing our will to fulfill. Oh, to retrieve but a pillow of that peace from before. When we're no longer sleeping and awake once more. Maggie and Harriet's great-grandchildren. Little Miss Wide Awake, brighter than a birthday cake, a cake that only you could take. You're the one I love, you're the one I love. Little Miss lays her eyes, all the heavens praise her eyes. Run and jump and skip no ties. You're the one I love, you're the one I love. Little Miss Heaven Sent, this back and forth has got to stop. You're as heavy as the government, in the form of a dewdrop, dewdrop. Little Miss Wide Awake, brighter than a birthday cake, a cake that only God could bake. You're the one I love, you're the one I love, you're the one I love. Now go to sleep. Okay. They once asked the great sculptor Henry Moore, what is the secret to life? And Henry Moore's response was, the secret to life is having a task that you devote your entire life to. A task, something that you bring everything you have to, every minute of every day. And the most important thing is that it must be something that you can't possibly do. This is parenting. Okay, and there really is something to this heredity thing. Because I found, just as I had a mother, my kids do too. All of them. Hello? Yeah, so the mothers. Wise men grieve not when it's raining. Space or time tempt not the sage. Whether moons are waxing, waning, whether bells ring out the age, tranquil sits the soul transcendent. Far above it, peaceful, free, brave, embattled head, resplendent in cloaks of eternity. This thick world, ringed round with sorrow, moves in fits of vanity, all as unreal as tomorrow. Vapors, smoke. But when I see your paint-smeared hands and your sunlit face, I'm glad of time. I'm glad of space. When we're young and lives entwine, grows there a fresh and simple vine. I merely take your hand in mine, and there's the future. If you will teach me to be a woman, I will teach you to be a man. If you will be soft, dark, and human, I will be cool, calm, and strong. And if you be loving and quick with your heart, I'll be as brave as I can. If you teach me weeping and walks in the park, I will teach you to be a man. Yes, I will teach you to be a husband. If you will teach me to be a wife, both in your eyes and through them is now where and how I'll see life. So if you will teach me the blood in your veins, the rivers of feminine life, I'll show you mirrors of masculine pain and all these dark shadows of mine. And you can light candles to lighten my load whilst I hold your bamboo fan. If you will teach me to be a woman, my love, I will teach you to be a man. Yes, I will teach you to be a woman, my love, if you will teach me to be a man. Well, that's kind of it, isn't it? That's the family thing. Let me sum up with this. There is a new musical called Joe March Presents the Alcotts, which I must admit I wrote. It's about the author of Little Women, Louisa May Alcott, but more importantly, about her family. Louisa was the best-selling author of the 19th century. And we learn, of course, about her sisters and her mother through her famous book. But her father, who was conspicuously absent in Little Women, was really the linchpin. The man, his name was Bronson Alcott, Amos Bronson Alcott, and his best friend was Ralph Waldo Emerson. He had two best friends, Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau. And Emerson called Bronson Alcott the greatest genius of the age. But for all of his brilliance, he could not earn penny one. So it was up to Louisa and her famous book to get them out of debt. Right? And after an upbringing that would not have been out of place in the 60s, with communes and veganism and all that, she did. She wiped out the debt. And in the process, became arguably America's first brand. Right? There were some others. Mark Twain was a brand. Walt Whitman, even at the end of his career. But Louisa was insanely popular, which she did not like at all. I mean, the last thing in the world that she wanted to write about was her family. But a girl's book would pull them out of debt, which it did. So she becomes hugely successful and sings this. Once I swore I'd free this family, me. one book that family freed me. Four walls, a family huddles, this is the world. Two parents dream, then comes that gleam, soon there's your team. Home we learn to bear and share and care. All of life's relationships are there. Families become what they draw from. And what's the sum? Me. Mother's mood swings me. Papa's passions me. We watch our parents closely, gifts they bestow. Parents portray in their small way something larger than they. Sisters' love to sisters' love extends as our lifelong loyalty to friends. Thus in our midst all loves exist. Father, mother, sisters, me, hemmed in by fame, proud of our name. Thus I became me. Families everywhere. Do come back. There are more of these shenanigans next week. Next week is Help Wanted, Inquire Within. Spirit and its constant surprise.
Thank you. That door. Oh, I know that. It is such a nice party.
I was looking at my pictures at the museum. You're in a lot of them.
Oh, really?
You really got around.
Oh, I guess I did.
Not just on the cobblestones, but even like the Chandra's dance cave. You were in there.
Oh, yeah.
And I think you were